Hello Bookish friends, in today's video I will do a video that is similar to a video that I saw in Emily's channel many years ago. I thought it could be a great video for my new friends who have subscribed to my channel recently. I will talk about my top authors per genre. I will include 5 genres that I read the most, talk about my top 3 authors and my favorite book of that author. So it will be like a summary of my reading tastes. The first genre that I will talk about is fantasy, and the author on the 3rd place is an author that I discovered quite recently, and I read a book series of Kerrelyn Sparks with Amy at Zobeck, and I very much enjoyed this quite fun and also a bit romantic vampire series. My favorite book from that series is the 3rd book, which is Be Still My Vampire Heart. I actually had a crush on the male lead of that book. Second author is J Klune. I have enjoyed every book that I've read from this author, and he writes quite endearing and also thought-provoking fantasy books. The favorite book is the first book that I read from this author, which can be considered a middle grade book, The House in the Cerulean Sea. My favorite author from the fantasy genre is Brandon Sanderson. I also enjoyed every book that I read from this author. I think his writing style can be called a lighter epic fantasy. His language is quite approachable, and his world building is described so that you feel like the author is taking your hand and describing the world in a very simple way. What makes this author a favorite is the way that he creates very complex characters and how they interact with each other. And the second genre that I'm going to talk about is thriller. The first author is Gillian Flynn. She writes very engaging and very exciting books with quite damaged characters. And like all of the authors actually in this list, her writing is very clear and on point. And my favorite book from Flynn is Dark Places. I really felt for every character while reading this thriller. And the second author is a Norwegian author, Jo Nesbo. I read all of the Harry Hole series from this author, with the exception of his latest book, because it has not been translated to Turkish yet. With the exception of the first 2 books, the remaining books that is taking place in mostly Norway are great thriller books, and it also captures the environment of the place that Harry works in very well. The description of the crime scenes are a bit gross, so I will have to give a content warning. But if you do not mind such books, I think the way that Nesbo creates his mysteries is a delight to read for readers who likes complex and engaging mystery thriller books. My favorite book from Nesbo is The Snowman. My favorite author from the thriller genre is Karin Slaughter. I have loved every book that I've read from her. They were all very exciting, and to be honest, they were quite gory too. The way that she creates her characters is so complex and so enduring. You cannot help but feel for the characters in the book, especially the woman. Like Nesbo, I also really like the way that she creates her mysteries with lots of twists and surprises. My favorite book from Karin Slaughter is Pretty Girls. Though some of the scenes were horrific to read, it was so engaging. I cannot help but keep on reading. Our third genre is romance. Author on the 3rd place is Tessa Dare. Tessa Dare writes spicy historical fiction books. What makes the books special for me is the way that she creates her characters. Also, the humorous events that happens in every book that I've read from her. I just love the smile that it brings to my face while reading her books. My favorite book from hers was When a Scot Ties the Knot, a very humorous book with quite endearing secondary characters as well as a great main couple. The second author, Julia Quinn. Julia Quinn's style is similar to Tessa Dare actually, maybe a little bit less spicy. She also has a very good humor, which I love reading. Additionally, Julia Quinn creates great sagas about family or about a friendship group, and you really expect to read books from those secondary, very endearing characters. My favorite book from Julia Quinn is the second book in Bridgerton series, which is The Viscount Who Loved Me. And my favorite romance author is Kristan Higgins. Unlike Julia Quinn and Tessa Dare, Kristin Higgins writes very clean romances. Everything happens behind closed doors. And her stories are very sweet with very lovable characters. The relationships between the main couple in all of the books that I've read from her have been quite emotional, and her characters are complex. My favorite book from Kristan Higgins is The Perfect Match. The fourth genre that I will talk about is historical fiction. The first author that I will talk about is J Klune. J Klune writes historical mysteries that are taking place in significant world events. She creates different timelines in her books, and they are all quite engaging. Her characters and her writing are also great, like all of the authors in this list. My favorite book from J Klune is The Huntress. Such a great book with a wonderful atmosphere and a quite emotional story. The second author is a Turkish author, actually my favorite Turkish author, Ayşe Kulin. Ayşe Kulin writes in many genres, but her best works comes from the historical fiction genre. I love her very neat and clear writing style, and her plots are most of the time exciting. Many of her books have been translated to English. My favorite book from her, Last Train to Istanbul, has also been translated to English. This book takes place in World War II. It is about Turkish diplomats who secretly makes the Jews in France get away from the Nazi regime. My favorite historical fiction author is Christin Hannah. Christin Hannah is the author that most probably made me cry the most. With no exception, I've cried in every book that I've read from hers, and I have read, I think, 5 or 6 books. Her stories are very emotional. Her writing is very good. The way that she describes the period is so vivid. And my favorite historical fiction book from hers is The Nightingale. This story about 2 sisters living in France in World War II was one of the best historical fiction books that I have read. We are coming to my favorite genre, which is mystery. The author in the third place is another newly discovered author, Colin Cambridge. I read all the books published in Phila the Bride series from her. Colin Cambridge is clearly an Agatha Christie lover, and it shows in the plot that she creates. Phila the Bride is the housemaid of Agatha Christie, and she solves mysteries as an amateur sleuth with the support of Agatha Christie. So Agatha Christie is a secondary character in her books. Aside from creating the plot around Agatha Christie, she also clearly loves Agatha Christie books and inspired by the way that she writes and some of the structuring of the mystery. And my favorite book from Cambridge is the last book that I read from Phila the Bride series, which is Murder Takes the Stage. My second favorite mystery author is Daphne de Maurier. Daphne de Maurier's books are actually a mixture of genres, but there is a mystery in every book that she writes. She creates great plots, but the atmosphere in her books are the shining star of every book that she writes. My favorite book from hers is also one of my favorite books, which is Rebecca. I discover something great about this book every time I reread it. And unsurprisingly, I will conclude the video with Agatha Christie, my favorite mystery author and my favorite author. I've done so many videos about Agatha Christie and how much I love her and the way that she creates her mysteries. So I will not repeat myself, but I will have to say it was a bit hard to choose a favorite book from hers. With a slight margin, my favorite book from Agatha Christie is her great standalone book, And Then There Were None, one of her most atmospheric books that she has written. So those were my top 3 authors from 5 favorite genres. It was a bit hard to limit myself to 3 in some genres, especially historical fiction and mystery. And as you can see, I read quite diversely. I'm quite happy that I am like that because I can find a book and genre that I like for every mood in my life. I think the most important thing for me is that I'm reading a well-structured and well-written book, which is, I think, an indication of a potential favorite author for me. So please comment down below what you think about the authors that I've mentioned. If you're a new viewer, first of all, welcome. Please like and subscribe. Hope to see you very soon. Bye. As for Turkish word of the day, I'm going to choose hunt. Hunt means avlanmak in Turkish, and avlanmak is our Turkish word of the day. Have a good day.